where you engaged in a mentorship program where maybe a more seasoned business owner helped a younger business, a startup business, and what partnerships as a business owner did you engage in? I think partnering now is even more crucial because the cost of doing business is so high, from the very basic of renting a space and then buying inventory or investing in equipment, that it's good to collaborate, to partner with other businesses so that you can afford to do your business. And I notice now there are businesses that are started by immigrants now. They're working together and they may have 4 or 5 businesses in one location. And that way they're able to have their own location, they share the expenses, and they can be in business. So I think partnerships and working together is an important component of not only starting the business, but growing a business.
Have you thought about, talk about how long you want the interviews to be? Everybody is not?
Well,
You just want to bring it open? I don't know. I think it's a good idea to have some time limit and to make sure that you get to the questions that you want to include. So I don't know.
in the training manual, it says it can range from 45 minutes to 2 hours. I think 2 hours is a lot.
Yeah.
I think our maximum, maybe an average of, a half hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Especially with business owners, because, they're busy.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. It's different than if you were like interviewing your aunt at home on your couch, in the evening, you can sit back and chat for 2 hours. But here we have to be considerate of the time of the business owner and your own time. Because you've got other things to do, you've got your studies, you've got your homework, you've got classes and other activities. So, it's good to keep all of that in mind.
I don't know what you think, but I like sort of what the approach that Ashley mentioned you did with the teachers. If there are some questions in common that we come up with, like maybe some basic questions that everyone would want to ask, and then some individual questions that, correspond to your interest, what you would like to know from this person. It might make it easier, first of all, so everybody's not to come up with all the questions.
Right. That's a great idea.
If you can agree on some basic questions that you think are important. When we would do that.
So, does anybody have any questions that they would like to have asked, or to ask a potential business owner now?
Sonia, do you have any suggestions for something?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know if there anyone who wants to go into their own business. What kind of business would you like?
Yes, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not really sure. I'm really indecisive with what I want to do with my life, but it's an option.
And what was that option?
So, go into business, but for like fashion and design.
Some of the recent grads of the school have started their own businesses. Like one of the former students, lives on 114th and Powell, and she started a business where she manages marathon runners, female marathon runners. So, every time the runner wins a race, she gets a small percentage of the prize. Yes. Yeah, which that's just, it's a really innovative business, I thought, that she kind of came up with that. So maybe, I don't know if you would want to interview her, Bonita, but, it's a great connection. Yeah.
We have great connection.
Yeah.
Is it a business management, or does she do training, or does she do both? Does she help get the person, research different competitions, business management, and is it training as well? That's interesting.
Yeah, I think she does the training. I think it's more the researching the races and then organizing the travel too, because these runners are going all over the world.
And so finding housing for them.
Arranging accommodations and things like that. So this is a former student?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
We definitely have to have her.
Yeah. It just is such a, thinking about looking for the possibilities. Yeah.
And that's a good example of, an unusual an atypical business that you wouldn't even think that you could have a business around. So that's really good because you've got your passions, you're developing your passions, things that you enjoy doing, that you love doing. So how do I make money at it? And that's a good example of that.
I guess I'm trying to take advantage of somebody's expertise. Like, what would you say is important for the interviewees to know? Are there certain general areas that maybe we could frame a question around it? Like, if you were to,
Being 74 years old and watching what's going on, that means I was in business since I was 5, because my grandmother used to sell alcohol on Sunday, alcoholics, and handing me money to count. So I've been in business since I was a little girl. I saw how to make money, legally and illegally. So one of the things that I'm finding is that everyone is getting all this college education, and they're actually working for me.
I'm sorry?
They're actually working for me because they can't find jobs. So I had a refrigerator man, no, it was a washing machine man, said he was a C student, and now all his A students are working for him. So I think you need to think about going into your own business, even if you get a PhD. I have a niece who was 27 years old who got a PhD in genetics. And she now has her own business. She's got a grant for $2 million to study what this pollution does to DNA. So you may need a college degree to get that grant, but you definitely don't need a college degree to go into business. You have to have imagination and you have to really love business. You can create a business out of nothing. You can stand on the street and create a business. The thing is to be self-supporting, to always have money in your pocket. And that's one of the things that I found out with my friends who have all college degrees. They stay in school all their life and they don't make more money than I do. In fact, they make less. But they're always telling me what to do. And I'm trying to figure out how you tell me what to do when you can't even save money to buy a condo for yourself. But we live in a society that teaches education is the most important thing. You can get educated by a man on the street. How to sell a pair of shoes is one of the hardest things in the world to do, is to be a shoe salesman. And there is a knack to every business, and one of the things is to learn your customer. Another thing is not to have a big ego. If you got to get out on the street and push papers of your business, I've seen people's business go under because they wouldn't do that. There's lots and lots to business, especially small business. As a small business, you work harder for yourself than someone who has a job, because you have to pay your money, has to go to all your expenses. That means that every week you have to come up with a salary for yourself. So it's a very hard job to be in business. And you'll find that you have successful businessmen like Trump who inherit some money, and you have people like me who started from the bottom. I can bet you I can beat him any day in business. Because he has a big ego. And that's what you have to find out about the customer that comes into you. How big is their ego? How can you sell them something that they don't want? They don't need. Right? How do you convince a person that they need what you have? So there's a lot to business. There's a lot to go into school. I think I could do better in school now than I did when I was younger. Right. Just remember the two.
Our businesses also, so they are there to make money. Hopefully you get a good return on your investment.
Investment, yeah.
Just remember that they're making money on students, for some people, in certain cases, colleges.
Think about both.
There are some other options.
Get your college degree to use to make business. Look at, what's his name, that went to Microsoft, Bill Gates. All of them went to college in the beginning,
They started them.
right? And then they realized they can't do college and do that business too, because it became overwhelming.
And they did their business while they were in college. And that's the best time to be able to start a business is when you're in college. You just have more freedom and more flexibility than once you graduate, get a job, and family and obligations and mortgage. It just makes it a little bit more challenging. But I think based on what Sonia has said, I think one of the questions that come out of what she's offered to us is that what are the key components of a successful business? What makes it what are the keys to a successful business? One of the things that she said, it has to be a passion. You have to work hard at it. You've got to work harder at the business than if you were working at a job. And so I think that's a good question to have. And it also, what Sonia was reflecting on is another question is, what would you like to leave, to young people? And what would you like to leave to me as a young person who's now interviewing you? So is there anything else that you would like to offer that we haven't asked you? And that way you get them to talk about what they feel is important. Because a lot of times when you're in an interview, when you're asking questions, the interviewee may have things that they want to get out, but you haven't asked them the questions to get that information out. So here you're offering them the opportunity to say exactly what they feel is important for you to know.
Sarah, what's your example of this person who managed America? Because if, we think of business, we may think of selling a product, but there's so many other options, services like that. Think about what do people need that they don't have time to do or don't have the skills to do or the interest to do.
Like walking a dog.
Yeah. I just wanted to
Cleaning somebody's house.
About the music together, she does programs for children. Like for the 4-year-old, she sings and plays guitar, and that is her business. And she hires people to also work with her. Both part of music together, she's like director, she's part of the business. We look around the neighborhood, there's so many families with young children, and there's so much research on the importance of music for young children, and she fills up these classes for the people. So it's a type of business. So by the interest, look at the needs of the neighborhood.
So we're focusing on businesses, and we may not be, you may not want to start your own business, but I think that the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that you get from the business owners that you interview will serve you well if you go out into the workplace and work a job. Because if the truth is told, in this day and time, if you're working a job, you have to be very entrepreneurial. You have to be able to be nimble, be able to switch companies, be able to switch industries. Things, back in the day when I was coming up, businesses were around for 30 years. Well, now industries are not around for 5 years. Some companies are not around for 5 years. So you have to be able to assess what's happening in the marketplace in terms of job availability. You have to assess what your skills and what you have to offer the marketplace. You have to assess your competition, those folks who are going to be going for the same job, and how do you determine a competitive advantage? What makes you better than your colleague? Why do I want to hire you rather than this young lady sitting next to you, Alana? So you have to, even if you're working a job, you still have to approach it from a business point of view and from an entrepreneurial point of view. So is there anything else that we want to cover or that someone wants to share? Because it's now 5 o'clock and I like to more time. And then we can have some refreshments.
Anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Don't be shy.
I know we've spoken briefly about this before, but are you thinking about maybe teams of 3 to interview each business owner? Or were you thinking about differently?
I think teams would be good.
Okay.
Teams of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because, I think it would facilitate the interviewing, the asking of questions, and then also handling questions, making sure that the person is comfortable taking the picture. I know I would have to have a team of two. So I think that's something, that's a good idea. And if everybody is, I don't know what the relationship is with everybody, if you're all friends and know each other. If not, I would recommend that you team up with someone that you don't know so that you get the added benefit of, reaching out to someone and developing a good relationship, a new friendship. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you all for coming and
Anything that comes up, give it to me,
Sarah or myself.
Yeah.
And we'll follow up with, like schedules for interviews and when businesses will be available and how that would work within your own schedule.
Okay.
And so please enjoy mingling and mixing with each other and the refreshments courtesy of Alana.
Thank you.
Okay.